Tonight on Q2, problems with the pipes.
It just happens around this time of year between March and April.
Last week's severe cold snap still impacting Red Lodge. We'll show you how. Plus a true medical miracle.
Now we are sitting with twiddlings.
Double trouble.
One Billings couple, after years of believing they may never have a child, now have 2 babies in less than 2 weeks. And celebrating Black history in Billings. The MTN 530 News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. What a difference a week makes. Spring-like temperatures right now hovering around 60 degrees, a far cry from less than 10 days ago when an Arctic freeze and 20 below zero temperatures greeted Billings. As our Haley Monaco found out, the impact of that cold snap still being felt though, especially in Red Lodge where the town is filled with Airbnb rentals.
This house has frozen pipes, and currently there are specialists inside pushing a small tube through the pipes right below me here to try and break through that ice. Spencer Stone spent his Thursday underground.
You never know where that ice plug is.
In the crawl space of this Airbnb, Stone is actively pushing a 1/4-inch tube down the water service line.
Right now it's warm water through this pipe down to the end of my nozzle, and then the cold water is coming back here and going back into the machine and recirculating. And so this process then just is slowly heating up the copper pipe and melting that ice plug.
Stone has multiple jobs in Red Lodge this week. Even with the warming temps, the problems still persist.
The frost gets pushed into the ground by vehicles driving over these roads and driveways and stuff. And even though it's nice outside, the constant traffic is pushing that frost further down in the earth, and that's why they start freezing.
I've got 5 reports of frozen service lines. One of them was on a city building, so 4 in the general public that I'm aware of.
Red Lodge Public Works Director Mike Maples says this isn't an unusual number for this time of year, but it is helpful to have Stone's assistance with his machine that can thaw out frozen lines.
If you can't deal with it and you have to rely on Mother Nature, it might take another month or so to thaw out, or 2.
While the property Stone was at was an Airbnb, the same tips apply to everyone.
Keep your water running a little bit and it will not freeze most likely.
People think, oh, it's 40 degrees outside. We're going to go ahead and shut off our water. We don't have to worry about our house freezing. And then the underground lines freeze.
After about 2 hours, Stone was able to break through the ice and get water restored to the home.
When we know we're through is that this will now have city water pressure in it, and so the city water pressure will now suddenly be pushing this black hose out at me, and there's no stopping it.
In Red Lodge, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Well, now it's the warmer weather causing some issues. All the snow melt resulting in some flooding, especially in low-lying areas. This is out in Shepherd on Eagle Bend Boulevard near the banks of the Yellowstone River, where standing water is making farmland look more like a pond. And they are far from alone as flood advisories and watches remain in effect for several areas. With the very latest on that, here is meteorologist Jason Stiff.
Yes, so much unseasonable warmth, all because of the wind that we've had the last several days, and we're not done with that yet. Now, unfortunately, we have had some areas of flooding here and there, but fortunately, it has not been more widespread. If we had a lot of rain on top of the melting snow, that would have been a much worse situation. But in northern Montana, we still have flood advisories and flood watches out. These will last through Friday and Sunday, respectively. We don't have any precipitation right now, just a lot of clouds pushing over much of central and eastern Montana. A lot of blustery weather too, but that wind has really been warming our temperatures recently. And look at the Billings area. We had a low this morning that only fell to 34. That was 12 degrees warmer than average. And this afternoon, 56 degrees for a high, 13 degrees warmer than average. Not a record breaker. The record high was 70, but other places were awfully close to the 70s this afternoon. We have some more winter weather coming too. Offering a complete 7-day forecast coming up.
Parking problems persist at the Billings Airport, and the city is bracing for what could be a frustrating week for some travelers because of spring break. This was the scene back in December when the airport ran out of parking spots due to a record number of passengers. This coming week is expected to look very similar, which is why the city is urging travelers to find a ride to the airport if at all possible to avoid potential delays. The airport has more than 1,350 parking spots available, but even with the overflow lots open, finding a spot is expected to be a challenge. The good news is an airport shuttle will transport passengers from the overflow areas to the terminals up to a half-mile away. A miracle in Montana. After years of heartache, a Billings couple is now preparing to bring home not one, but two babies, one carried by a surrogate and one delivered naturally. Tonight, our Matt Carmack brings us this story of perseverance and hope.
Haley and Jeff Morales always wanted to be parents, but nature didn't allow that to happen. It was when they decided upon a surrogate that a miracle happened that put them in an incredibly unique situation.
Double the trouble.
It's not your typical twin story.
Now we are sitting with twiblings with due dates 2 days apart.
Haley and Jeff Morales married in 2017, hoping one day to be parents.
I did always want to have a family and raise my own kids.
Kids is always something we've talked about and wanted for sure.
But that journey has been easier said than done.
I'd like to kind of move on from all the trauma that we've had and create some new memories.
In the last 7 years, Haley has had 2 ectopic pregnancies, went through IVF and IUI, and just when things were looking up, she lost her 2-day-old baby, Journey.
After we lost him, I was like, okay, I'm done being pregnant. I'm not really enjoying this experience.
After that, the two decided to go to Haley's cousin, Taylor Kuntz, for surrogacy, only to become naturally pregnant again just a few days later.
It was weird at first. I didn't know how I felt. I was happy for them, but I also was kind of taken aback. I didn't know how it was going to work out.
It was a shock, to be honest with you, because, with what had happened and everyone telling us the likelihood of it actually happening was kind of a shock.
A boy and a girl, Remy and Rome, with delivery dates not even 2 weeks apart.
Because our families are so close, I feel like I will definitely be part of their life in some way or another.
Fast forward to this Tuesday, Remy Morales entered the world.
The deal was if we could find an R name that was for a little girl, that I could have the name Rome for the boy.
Now they're just waiting on Rome to fill out their new empire. In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
The state of Montana has renewed the medical license of a Helena doctor accused of harming patients, even giving chemotherapy to patients who didn't have cancer. The Montana Board of Medical Examiners this week renewed the license of Dr. Tom Weiner for another 2 years. This despite the fact that Weiner was fired from St. Peter's Hospital in 2020 following numerous complaints, which included overprescribing narcotics and, in one case, treating a patient for 11 years with chemotherapy for a cancer he never actually had. That patient eventually died from poisoning related to the chemo. After Weiner was fired, he sued the hospital for wrongful termination and defamation. He maintains his innocence. Black History Month is wrapping up, and to celebrate, the Black Heritage Foundation held an open mic night here in Billings. That event, which was open to all, shined a light not only on their pain, but their successes. Our Isabel Sparts shows us how artwork helped to highlight cultural differences.
I am that I am. I am who I am.
Art can take many forms. Expression, excitement,
I feel a spark of hope for the future.
And even healing. That was the case Wednesday night during Billings Black Heritage Foundation's open mic night at Kirk's Grocery.
An event where people can come and voice their emotions, get together as a collaborative, just to change the culture of isolation.
The night was held in honor of Black History Month, a month that means so much to so many in the Black community.
It just means what we embody every month, like having cultural value and really understanding the foundation of what our culture stands upon.
For attendee Jasmine Wallace, it was an opportunity to share a poem of pain, writing about a friendship recently ended over racism.
The words you spit out are like bullets to my soul. I think it's a way to become more vulnerable and speak what you feel. I think poetry really elicits that. It really brings out the true emotions.
But a shared community can make those feelings feel just a bit more connected to others in a time when we might feel the weight of the world on our shoulders.
Being far from my family, it's kind of letters to them and to people from my past, and letters to just who I was and who I want to be.
But through it all, there is still joy and celebration.
The room was filled with love, cheer, joy, laughter. People were able to be their authentic selves.
The Black Heritage Foundation says the inclusion of all cultures is the best for diversity, no matter the month.
Every month is important to honor Black history because there's a lot of times where it's swept under the rug and not acknowledged. So it's a very empowering month.
We created some emotion, created some logic, hit some highs and lows. It was just a great night.
Thank you.
In Billings, Isabel Sparks, MTN News.